Hello. And then it was time for the next Dr. Seussian challenge. And if you're new here, or if you haven't been around much this year, because how is it already this far into March, right? Then I am doing a bit of a Dr. Seuss ABC challenge and trying to read some of my to-read shelf going from A through to Z. There's going to be a few gaps, and E was, I'm not going to lie, a challenge, but we have now moved on. We have moved on to Big F, Little F. What begins with F? And no, all Australians out there, I know what you're thinking, not that kind of F. You are going to choose for me which of my books where the author's name begins with F I am going to read next, or when I finish my most recent book. I'm hoping this will get me out of a bit of a reading slump that I've been in. I've started a couple of books that are really dragging. I have hopes that this little challenge will get me through. So the last couple of challenges where you got to vote which book you wanted me to read, there weren't as many, and I think they were all classic science fiction. And we've got a couple of those here. I've already read one, Philip Jose Farmer, and I've got another one that I might get around to for this part of the challenge. So we're going into Alan Dean Foster here. We've got Alan Dean Foster, Cachalot. Now, I know that this is considered number, it might be 8 in the Flink series. But I do believe that this can offer itself as a standalone, and it's got an oceanic marine theme, which I find very appealing. So if you would like me to read Alan Dean Foster's Cachalot, comment below. Then we've got another one that is just plain weird, and I'm not entirely sure what exactly it's meant to be. I found it in a science fiction fantasy section, but I don't really know what it is. It claims to be a novel of witchcraft. It's an Arrow book. I was thinking of leaving it for Spooky October, but it's author beginning with F, Stewart, Farrar, and we have got this really, really cool, very 60s cover for the 12 Maidens. It would definitely be a bit unlike anything I've read recently, so if you would like me to preempt the October spooky season. Oh, and now there's a science fiction link up. The new radar project was a complete success until the research team turned its scanners toward the Neolithic holy place of Maiden Tor. Okay, so we've got a history archaeology element. That ticks some boxes for me. We've got a new radar. That's some science fiction-y stuff. And then we've got the witchy stuff. Stewart Farrar isn't sounding too bad an option. If you think I should read The 12 Maidens by an author I have never read before, comment below. Now I've got another Alan Dean Foster, Icerigger. Icerigger, again, is part of one of his series, but I do believe that it works well as a standalone. If you know for a fact that it doesn't, then let me know, and I might... No, I won't take it off the list. I'm still going to read it if you vote for it. If more people vote for this than anything else, I will read it. Ice and aeroplanes and military type stuff instead of whales and ocean, but I like Alan Dean Foster, and I'll go there. Vote for it if you want me to read it. And finally, a little bit different, still very much on the science fiction theme, but not fiction. Inside the Mind of Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, by Yvonne, Fern. I know nothing about this book. I've apparently owned it for a while. I found it in a storage container out in my storage cage. I've had it for a while. It's clearly secondhand. I've got no memory of ever having read it or where I got it. But if you would like me to read Inside the Mind of Gene Roddenberry, which would be a fascinating place to visit, vote below. So the way this works, I don't use SurveyMonkey or any of those other interesting things. If you want me to read one of those, just comment below. I will tick the answer, and when I'm coming to read my next book, when I finish the one I'm reading right now, whichever one of these 4 has the most votes in the comments is the one I will read and review next. I'm actually a little bit excited. The last vote was for a book, ended up having me read a really, really excellent book by Alice. That was in E. So, something beginning with F. A book beginning with F. A book whose author begins with F. Anyway, vote below. And I will read whichever book the most of you vote for. And while you're voting, read good books.